When I was here, I was like most of you out here right now. I was 18, 19 years old, and recruited by Coach Nagy to come here and play basketball. And the first thing I want to tell you about Coach Nagy, and I want to see if what you would do in this situation. He comes to my school, Lynchburg High School. He gets me into the counselor's office, sets me down, 2 chairs, right facing each other, telling me all about Barton County and basketball here and everything. They'd just been Region 6 runner-up the year before. And he takes his index fingers, he gets down and he's pounding me on my chest. And he says, "I can promise you one thing if you come to Barton County. And that is that at the first day of preseason, you're going to want to go home. You're going to want to go home because it's too tough." And let me tell you, he finishes up then, but he says, "But if you're a man and if you're a champion, you'll be at Barton County." End of story. I mean, just like very matter of fact. If you're a man, you're a champion, you'll be here. And I think there's been a lot of champions come to Barton County through the years, and a lot of you right here. And I don't know how many people would have still come, but I did. And I threw up the first day of preseason. True story. Threw up. And but it was a great influence and a lot of growth. And I wouldn't be anywhere where I am today if it hadn't been for the people of Barton County. It wouldn't have been for Coach Nagy, Coach Sundahl, and the people that I had as teammates and the experience I had here at Barton County. Started with my parents, and Coach Nagy will tell you to this day that you had those values when you came. And our parents are very important, and they attended every game if it was here at Barton. By the way, we didn't have all these facilities back when I was here. We didn't have dorms when I was here, and but they would come to all the games and the area games like Hutch, Cloud, Butler. And of course, we didn't have the internet back then, so there was no live streaming, so they couldn't watch the games. George Donnelly was the voice of the Cougars back then. KBGB radio, went everywhere, all the games, rode with the team, came with us, traveled with us. And the signal for KGVB wasn't real good. My folks lived about a little over an hour from here. My dad soon realized that if he drove out in the pasture and got up on this hill, he could get the signal. So he'd listen to the road games out in the pasture all by himself. And of course my mom, and you know, I said we didn't have dorms back then. We had what was called the Cougar Den. It's a parking lot now across the street from St. Rose Church there, Catholic Church there in Great Bend. And the Booster Club had that place. We had Rachel Daniels was her name. We called her Ma. She was like our house mother. She lived there. Once in a while she'd cook a meal for us. And my mom would send food, and that's where we lived. And there at the Cougar Den. And that was a great experience. Our players really came together there. We had a little bit of everybody. We had some track athletes there. We had, I can't remember, it might have been about 6, 7 bedrooms in the place. And we all doubled up, and that's where we lived. I want to mention my wife, Jareen. She was actually a cougar kitten when she was here. You don't know what cougar kittens are. Well, actually, some of the cougar kittens helped Von Brown with the stats, and that's probably why I got 25 rebounds in one game. And so, but she's been by my side all this time through 38 years of coaching. And my son Nathan is here as well. He's an attorney in Kansas City, patent attorney. My daughter was not able to be here. She lives in Charlestown, West Virginia, with my son-in-law and my grandson, August, if August is watching on live stream. But my family, of course, you have to have a supportive family as well. Coaches, I'll share a little bit more, some stories about Coach Nagy, but I want to tell you, when I visited Barton County, Coach Nagy was the AD, and he also had to be, he was at an AD's meeting that day. So Coach Bowman back here, who is a track coach, Jack Bowman, he's the one that met me and took me to they don't have it, it's different now, maybe a Perkins there now. It used to be called the Black Angus Steakhouse. That's where, now I don't know what you all get to eat now, but see, Coach Nagy was the AD. And so we had pregame steaks before every meal, and we had postgame steaks. I don't know if all the other sports had that, but basketball did. He was the AD. And so we would go down. Coach Bowman took me down to the Black Angus and had a steak when we had our visit here. And of course, Coach Bowman to this day, and by the way, he's also a Bethany alum as well, and is in the Hall of Fame at Bethany College, still holds the record for the 100-meter dash. And I mean, this was set in the 1950s, and it never got broken before they moved over to that was 100 yards, and before they moved over to the meter system. And so Jack Bowman was certainly an influence on me, had classes under him, took archery over here and where the track was under Coach Bowman. And of course, some of the professors back then, and this is something that I want all of you student athletes to think about. You're building connections here with your coaches, with your professors, because I tell you what, they'll have the more you work with them and the greater relationship you build with them, the more they're going to be able to help you. When it comes to networking, when it comes to growth, when it comes to your careers, when it comes to your futures. And that's exactly what I was able to have when I was here at Barton County with the mentors that I had here at Bethany. And I'm just going to throw a few out. Pat McAtee was a communications professor, went on and was the president of Cali County Community College, retired a few years ago. We've been close all the time. Sherman Nystrom, he was a Bethany alum, and he was our biology teacher. And I mean, this guy, we always had these big team pictures. And he always had one in his laboratory in the biology room, and had every basketball player come in and autograph that thing. And the connections that we had with the faculty was really special. J.B. Webster, golf coach and music teacher, and always had, I mean, that pep band was awesome. We had unbelievable attendance at our games. I mean, they're hanging from the rafters. Of course, the most fun game, and a lot of you can identify this, was when Hutch would come in here. And I mean, you couldn't find a seat. It was absolutely packed. And a lot of that goes back to our booster club. And I tell you what, just as they are today, they were awesome back then as well. And of course, unfortunately, a lot of those people are gone today. Big Ed Peters was just awesome with us and helping us as a booster member. I think of Larry Zinn. He ran the old Otasco store downtown. And Jim Heaton, I think, is still with us. And Also John Keenan. And these are just some, the boosters, just as they are today. What an impact they have on your lives and the things that they do for you that helps you to be a successful student athlete at Bethany. And I tell you, you can't thank these people enough for what they do, because I know from experience the impact that they had on me and my life. I'm going to tell you a story about Coach Sundahl. Coach Nagy was one tough dude, let me tell you. Obviously, you could tell by the way he recruited me. And we had our film session, I don't know, we called it the Cougar Booster Room or something up there in the press box, and that's where we'd watch film. And we didn't have the fancy stuff nowadays, we had VHS tapes but Coach Sundahl and Coach Nagy were sitting up at the front, because you had to run the film from right there. You didn't have remote control. You had to run everything right there, and the players would be in the back. And not much ever was missed by Coach Nagy. Tim, I think this was our side. Yeah, it had to be, because Coach Sundahl was there, so you were up there. And we're watching some film, and of course, anytime something happens, Nagy's like, going crazy, run it by about 15 times with another something to say about it. Well, this one thing goes by, and I think it was like either somebody not sprinting back on defense or somebody ducking a charge. I can't remember which it was. And some of us guys, I think it was Tim and I, or Brad Wolfs and I, who's related to Trevor, and we're sitting back there and we said, oh my, we could not believe that Coach Nagy missed that. We were glad he did, because there'd been 5 more minutes going over that one clip. Well, wouldn't you know, Coach Sundahl says, hey, coach, back it up. I think we missed something there. And so we back it up, and there you go, holy smoke! And then, of course, for 5 more minutes, then it's running that thing back and forth while we get chewed out and what we didn't like about that particular clip. And but Coach Sundahl did a great job. I tell you what, my academic advisor here, Gary Tranbarger, he knew exactly what I needed in order to move on to my 4-year school from here in physical education, and did a tremendous job for me. I will say this, he also coached officiated women's basketball, and when I was coaching at Bethany, we were at a game at Fort Hays State, and he teased me up. My old advisor teased me up. But I deserved it that time. I deserved it. And Kevin knows I probably deserved some technicals at times. But he was very special. And these same people today that are here at Barton is your faculty members, your teachers, your coaches. They're huge. And of course, your teammates. I tell you what, the relationships that you build, like Tim Stevenson and myself, and all the teammates that we had. And of course, Coach Nagy, he knew what he was doing. He was a psychologist. He taught psychology. And by the way, he was very high integrity. He wasn't going to give you no breaks, because I just got a C in psychology, general psychology, and Coach taught it. You would like, hey, this is going to be an A, isn't it? No, sir. I got a C in psychology. But he knew, he put us in adverse situations all the time. And what those adverse situations did was bring our team very, very close together. We had each other's back. We cared about each other. We helped each other. And that translated onto the floor. And I'm telling you, obviously, we weren't big-time athletes, but he got us so believing in controlling what you can control. Play hard, play defense, and have discipline, self-discipline, that I'm telling you, I remember we always had a Thanksgiving Classic right here. And I mean, these teams would come in, and I mean, they got these high-flying athletes that were, I mean, they were good. And we would actually, when it was a game before ours, we'd be sitting there watching them warm up, and we'd actually be making fun of them, not to them, but amongst ourselves, like, oh, yeah, they don't work hard, or look at those poor fundamentals. I mean, we really believed that if we worked hard, and if we played together, and we had discipline, we'd beat them. And we did. We did. Even if we didn't have as much talent, we still beat them. And that's the things, the cornerstones of Coach Nagy's philosophy: defense, discipline, and hustle. And let me tell you, those were the same cornerstones that I used for coaching for 40 years. Same thing. And on our playbook, on the cover of our playbook, we all had ring binders. And boy, it was next to the Bible. It was the most important book in your life. And across the playbook on the front, it said, Cougar Land, where we separate those who love the game from those who live the game. Think about it. That's the difference. What kind of sacrifice, what kind of commitment are you going to make to your sport, to what you do? Where we separate those who love the game from those who live the game. And believe me, that's what we did. We lived the game, big time. So, some of those things. Now, I want to share about the president at the time, Dr. Paul Hines. Dr. Jimmy Downing, who I heard about. Jimmy was our dean of instruction, or vice president at that time. Paul Hines was our president. When, one time, Coach Nagy brings the president to my high school on a recruiting trip to take me out to eat. And we went to this place called the Brookville Hotel, which back in this, I mean, that's a big time place. And I was really impressed. You mean the president, comes with him, spends half a day to come with him to come and take me out to eat. But I really got to thinking about it now that I've gotten older. I mean, Paul Hines is a great guy. But I mean, really, seriously, was it to recruit me or because he wanted to eat Brookville fried chicken? He wanted to go to Brookville, see. That's why. But he'd come down, play horse with us, and had a real impact on us. The one other thing I wanted to mention was practice. And when I was a freshman, Coach Nagy, it was Coach Nagy and it was Coach Bowman, and Coach Nagy did all the taping. We didn't have professional training staff back then, and so we had taping times. Well, I got out of class at 2 o'clock, so my taping time was 2:15, which meant I was on the floor at 2:30. Practice started at 3:30. And he would check in on you, and when you got on the floor, when I got on the floor at 2:30, it was sweat. I mean, you're sweating. It was time to work on your weaknesses. Well, I finally figured out later, there's a reason why he had me at the earliest taping time. I had a lot of weaknesses, and I needed to be working on them. So I got an hour extra practice in every day that way. But what an experience. And I don't know if anybody, this story, I got to share this with you. I promised Coach Nagy that I would share this story with you. When I was a freshman, we were playing Cloud County Community College right here. And one of our key players right here from Great Bend, Willie Reed. And some of you maybe know Willie Reed, one of the most phenomenal athletes, great track athlete, unbelievable athlete, was playing for us. Well, there was about 3-4 minutes left in the game, and we're up 80-something to 60-something. And the coach for Cloud County. They quit. Can you believe that? They quit. They took the team off the court. Game's over. About 3.5 minutes left in the game. We're up like 80-something to 60-something. They quit because they said we were playing too tough. We were playing too hard. Can you believe that? So they walked off the court. And then the next year, our sophomore year, Coach Sundahl was with us, and Coach Stevenson, Tim Stevenson, was with us. And we're at Cloud County's Classic, and we're playing nationally ranked Eastern Wyoming. I think it was, or maybe it was an Iowa Western. I can't remember who it was. Doesn't matter. But they're nationally ranked, and I mean, we were kicking the tar out of them. I mean, kicking them. And this is the honest to God truth. We come out at halftime, and they're gone. Yes, we come out at halftime and they are gone because it was too tough. We played too hard. And I tell you, as players, our initial thought was we were depressed. We go in, I mean, this has never happened. We walk in the locker room and like, we're just sitting in there, you know. All of a sudden, Nagy, Coach Nagy comes busting through the doors. Holy smoke! You know, he's jacked out of his mind because he said, that's the second time. He said, you sophomores, that's got to be a national record. 2 teams walk off the floor on you. And probably is till this day. I don't know. Never seen it happen. And but that's because we played hard and we just frustrated people. We didn't play dirty, but boy howdy, there's a ball on the floor. We dove on it. And speaking of that, see, back then the court out here wasn't wood, it was this tartan surface. And it had bumps all over it. You know, it was a rough tartan surface. And Coach Nagy would always tell us, I can tell who's had the best practices. You know, back in those days we had, of course, Chuck Taylors. We wore Chuck Taylors. And we had socks. And he would look and see who had the bloodiest socks. Whoever had the bloodiest socks, that means you had the most floor burns and the blood run down and soaked up your socks. And that's true, but that's the way we played. And you dove on the floor for loose balls. But let me tell you, it's that background, that influence, because you know what? The truest measurement of your success for each and every one of you, the most important thing is the thing that you control. And that's how hard are you going to work? How bad do you want it? How hard are you going to work? Just like Trevor's challenged you here, and you challenge them, who's going to be the next one of you that's up here someday? You control it. You really do. By how hard you work. And that's what's going to be the determination of your success. I want to thank all of you for being here, for having me. I got to share one more thing as I look at Trevor, though. Last thing, let me tell you, you know, this guy played for me. Now, you all know Trevor. Who knows Trevor, right? Oh, yeah. Let me tell you, his wife, Kim, was the last transfer that I recruited at Bethany. She played for me. My last year coaching was her junior year, I believe, and she played for me at Bethany. And then I moved over and took over the men, and the first transfer I recruited was Trevor Rolfs from Barton County. And so he came and was the first transfer I signed as the men's coach. And this guy can play. I mean, back in those days, 6'5", 6'6" guard, unheard of, you know. And he could shoot, and we had the three-point line back then, and he could shoot the three. In fact, he very seldom saw a three he didn't like. He could shoot it. He could shoot it. So, hey, I want to thank everybody, and for all of you, good luck to you and your parents.